In this series of dumb criminals and the stupid things that they have done to get caught, I almost always, cover people who've committed violent crimes and murders, serial killers, spree killers, or just plain morons who killed other people. But today, I want to tell you about a non-violent criminal. A non-violent criminal who was, well, he's a criminal all the same, but he never in his entire history, even though the FBI and the U.S. Marshals called him the head of the cornbread mafia, he was not a violent individual. He was, in fact, a marijuana grower. Actually, High Times magazine nicknamed him the Godfather of Grass. His name is John Robert Boone. Let me tell you about how John Robert Boone got caught. John Robert Boone was a farmer in Kentucky. He grew soybeans, he grew other cash crops, and eventually the farm was starting to fail. So he changed to growing marijuana. At the time he came on the radar of the FBI and the U.S. Marshals, he had 2,421 marijuana plants. That is a lot of marijuana plants, okay? Almost 2,500 marijuana plants to be exact. But John Boone took off on the run. He evaded capture for almost 10 years, moving, in secret circles around the United States and eventually ended up in Canada. When the U.S. Marshals finally found his home and tracked it down and went to search it, well, John Boone and his wife were gone. When they searched the property itself, a U.S. Marshal who was new to the Marshals Task Force, only been on the job for a couple of months, was outside searching the property, itself, and happened to see a trash can and thought, there might be some clues in that trash can. And there were. Inside of the trash can were packages, plastic packages and wraps from a local smokehouse that slow smokes bologna, the meat bologna, like you would have a bologna sandwich. And there were a lot of them. As a matter of fact, this was one of John Boone's favorite things to eat. He loved making fried bologna sandwiches. Well, when he eventually ended up in Canada underneath an assumed name, he started mail ordering that bologna to Canada, or he had it mail ordered from Kentucky to a subsidiary, a friend of his in the States, who would then drive it up to him in Canada. Well, the U.S. Marshals went to that smokehouse and they said, hey, we would like to know about this slow smoked bologna that you have. And we would like to know where, it's sold and who buys the most of it. And they're like, well, Mr. Boone definitely buys the most of it. He loves it. But we haven't seen him in a while. But we do some mail order. And the mail orders that we do are only 3 people who order things outside of the U.S. And the rest of them are shipped to small boutique stores across the United States. But no one, out of all of the orders that we ship, across the United States and into Canada, no one orders bologna but one individual. John Boone, the godfather of, the cornbread mafia, or, High Times magazine says, the godfather of grass, just couldn't leave his bologna alone. He had it mail ordered underneath an assumed name to him in Canada so he could still have his fried bologna sandwiches. And that is how the U.S. Marshals ended up catching John Boone, the godfather of grass. Sadly, John Boone died at the age of 80 in June 14th of 2024. And yes, don't even think for a second that John Boone wasn't as high as the Empire State Building at the time of his death. He was a man of the herb, and he loved it all the way to his death.